Welcome back to Personalist Manifestos. You've made it to part three of my conversation with my colleague Joel Carrico about Genesis, civilization, and the city. So if you haven't listened to the other two parts, you can go back and listen to them before you listen to this one. And so with that, here's the third part of my conversation with Joel.
All
Okay,
right.
tell us about the seven sons. You were talking about
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
the seventh sons. And
Yeah,
then
so
I'll
again, there's
just
this
leapfrog on that with another silly pop culture reference.
this is basically how our work goes.
Joel
Yeah, so you
says
got
smart things and Mike says dumb things.
good cop,
Okay.
bad cop.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so you got the lines, right? So you got Cain's first son is contrasted also to Adam's seventh son. So they're both named Enoch. So the first son of the exiled son is a monument to human ability, right? And then the seventh son of that line calls on the name of Yahweh. So you've got like two Enochs contrasted, first and seventh, but you've also got the two sevens, the Lamech and Enoch contrasted, and so there's genealogies that are like cross-referencing each other on who they are and what they're like. So it's as I've said already, a comparison of the good sons, the bad sons, so to speak, those who call on the name of Yahweh, those who do not. Actually,
Mhm.
many of the names in Cain's lineage sound the same or are the same as in Seth's lineage. These the genealogy. So you're supposed to contrast. I have a whole theory on why these names are the way they are. I'm not even going to go into it right now. There's not really. It's not going to provide too much for the idea of city, but I think that you're actually supposed to be drawing on the etymology of these names and what they mean, and that's actually like informative to what kind of character this person is. We often see names associated with character. And
Yeah.
so I think that's probably going on here as well, especially when you see Seth's line. It's possible that like the etymology of the name as descriptive of character might actually be informative as to what when their firstborn is born, and the firstborn is the way in which the problem of the Garden of Eden being gone, or Eden being gone, is going to be fixed. Right, the seed of the woman will crush the serpent. So the
Right.
seed of the woman, there's going to be a child or a people born who are going to solve the problem. And so perhaps you actually see like how long was it before their firstborn was born? 50 years, 70 years, 150 years, and their names might actually be indicative of like what kind of character they were and when God was giving them a firstborn.
Right.
But I won't get into that whole theory right now. That's just like a paper down the road to write, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that there's something going on with naming here and that kind of thing. Um, but ultimately, none of that. We end up getting kind of like to a big stop, right? You get Noah, and
Hmm.
Noah is anticipated to bring things back to the Eden-like world, right? So it says that he's going to be the one who's going to save us from the work of our hands. Um, his dad, Lamech, not the other one, right? There's a lot of similar names here, right? So
Hmm.
then Noah's dad is also Lamech, and he's a different Lamech, but this guy, he doesn't talk about going back into God's presence. He's just like, I just want to stop the work problem. I don't want. He's going to give us rest from our work. He's going to stop this curse. So he's actually a lot more about not having to work than he is
He's
about
just
going back.
lazy. Yeah. The
Kinda,
other one,
kinda,
the,
yeah.
the other Limerick, he's all switched on and like let's get some wives and kill some people. And the other one's like, I'm just tired. I just want to
Yeah,
take a
he's
nap.
exactly, yeah, he's
You want
tired.
to do
Like,
naps? My city's got nap pods like Google. Yeah.
yeah, and so he's kind of like a maybe an in between,
Yeah.
we need God to fix this problem. I'm more concerned about work than I am about God and the garden.
Or
I don't
maybe it's
know.
about
It's a
automation.
yeah.
He's getting some automation in there. Make the machines work for us. Well, we can, yeah, take a
But you think
Shabbat.
he's hoping that Noah's gonna fix it. And I mean, this idea of work in
Right.
the ancient world, being like a burden is totally there. We see that in other ancient Near Eastern creation myths where the gods create humans to work. The gods are kind of tired of some of the canal digging and stuff they got to do, and so they create humans to do that work for them. And so it has this idea of work as drudgery, which is there in some ways in the biblical text too, in the curse. But it's not the purpose of humans, right? Whereas in the biblical text, the purpose of humans is beyond just work. It's about, as you said, the word, priestly relation to
Worship,
God, worship. It's about
ultimately.
worship, yeah.
Yeah.
And work is then is downhill, no pun intended, from from that Eden and from that place of
Nice.
worship. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You roll down the hill. Yeah. But the Pentateuch, in my opinion, is gonna be focused on this what I just said, getting back to the presence of God on God's terms. Work sucks for sure, but that's not the problem. The problem is not work. The Pentateuch, in my opinion, is going to care about the remediation of the heart through ritual, sacrifice, worship, ultimately, which in turn will transform one's conception of work, vocation, and even the city, right?
Yeah.
Because God is going to embrace the city, He'll accept it and bring it in and baptize it, right?
Yeah.
But the whole point of the Pentateuch, in my opinion, and as it's been put together, is it's all leading to worship. It's leading to Leviticus. It's leading to the reinstatement of the Eden presence, the Holy of Holies, the glory of Yahweh dwelling in the Holy of Holies, which is the return to Eden, because now we have the ability to get back into that garden room, that antechamber, to be able to be in worship, in relation, in closeness to God again, like we lost in Eden and in the Garden of Eden. And so that's really the focus is that is what we are missing, and we must get back there in order to get back to what we are supposed to be.
Mhm.
Um, Now being east of Eden.
Yeah. Well, that makes me think about God is not against building. God is not against work. Um, and like you say, I mean, God does actually approach them and say, I want you to build something. Like the tabernacle.
Yeah.
And then, and this is like the first of many times that Israel is called upon to build, and particular people are chosen, and particular people who are good at building. And there's lots of descriptions about what type of materials are used and what types of dimensions are used and the type like and the intentionality and the skill that goes into it. It's not like God is against building and innovation and skill. What God is against is all of those things done for, you know, yourself and your people and not for God and other people, right? Like, and so I think, is it right to say then that this kind of relativizes work? So on the one hand, like there's the curse, right? You have to toil to get your food from the ground, so it's a sign of curse, but it's also the sign of your sustenance. But it's not totally condemned, but it's also not the thing that's going to save you. It's just the
Mm,
way that you're going to make a go of life and keep living so that your ultimate purpose, worship, relationship with God, becomes possible. I mean, Elul talks a lot about works. He kind of obsessively talks about work actually. Um, and he actually engages with the pun intended work of Marx on work because Marx is very preoccupied with work, as are most late modern folks. And of course, for Protestants, works don't save you, but you're also called to work. So it's this tension here of like putting work in its rightful place, I suppose, is the way to
hmm
to sort of tie those threads together.
Yeah.
Is
It
that
it
is that how work is being dealt with here?
Yeah, it certainly is giving you priority. It's
Yeah.
setting priorities for you, and priority numero uno is not yourself,
Hmm.
like Cain. Priority numero uno is worship.
Yeah.
It is leading people, creating a people through whom worship can occur, and the presence of God can then be mediated back to Israel, and from Israel out to the world, to the nations.
Yeah. Which
That
is
is
why
like
Sabbath is
that's
so
yeah.
important,
Oh, is Sabbath
right?
ever
Sabbath
important?
is the day
Yeah,
that gets your priorities straight. It's the
yeah,
day of rest from work so that you can worship and rest like God rests, not because God was tired, but you rest in creation. You settle into creation
yep,
and learn what it means to settle in. So then the other 6 days, when you get to work, you remember the God that made all of this possible. And from
yeah.
that posture, right?
It's restful worship. It's not just rest. It's worshipful rest, right? It's like being able to take time to stop, look up, and worship, and in so
Yeah.
doing, be transformed into the people who you're supposed to be. There's a
This is
reason the sign of the
yeah,
covenant, right, is the Sabbath. The sign
yeah.
in Exodus 31.
Uh,
That's very important. So important that perhaps the golden calf narrative also is about Sabbath.
Boom. It's it, right? I just put that on the tee and you saw it. Well, and it's funny actually, I'm not gonna name names just but you and I both have a student, an undergrad who was talking we actually, go through Sabbath. What does it mean? And we were talking recently and he's like, yeah, before, we talked about that, he's like, I really was trying to commit to Sabbath and uh I was really opposed to like doing anything on Sundays, and my family just got mad at me because I was like, I'm not doing chores. Like, this is my Sabbath. It's my time to play video games.
Yeah.
And he's like, but after learning a bit more about Sabbath, I see what was going on
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
It's not just a day to avoid your chores and
Yeah.
jump on, Xbox Live or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
If it's
so
not worshipful rest, it's not Sabbath. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Okay,
Totally.
let's talk about Noah though. I know you
By the
got
way,
some stuff
I'm
on
all
Noah.
for video games and play some video games on the Sabbath, but if that's
Oh,
all you're doing, yeah,
yes. If you're no, I mean his point, his growth edge was maybe it's not about not doing chores and just doing something that I want to do, right? Maybe it's about more than that.
oh
Maybe it's
yeah,
about spend a little time, you know, playing playing your game, but actually make some time to maybe clean something up to show the people in your family you care about them and you want to help them out. And God's not going to be mad at you for doing that chore because it's not about not doing chores. It's about learning how to live in such a way that everything you do shows your care and appreciation for God and for other people. Yeah.
totally, yeah, absolutely.
I just think it's
Uh,
funny the image of a teenager being like, Sabbath's about me playing video games. Gosh, mom, get off.
Mom,
Get on my back.
mom,
I want to clean my room today. Gosh, mom.
where are my chicken strips, mom? Mom, I thought
Mom,
you were making my
mom,
chicken strips.
meatloaf.
You didn't give me plum sauce, mom.
Mom,
It's my
why is it?
Sabbath.
It's my Sabbath. Gosh, why can't Dad mow the lawn? He likes it. Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Noah.
anyways, yeah, so we're back to Noah. Humans don't get rest from work, they just end up going to the grave with floods.
Mhm.
So like human evil becomes a huge problem, and
Yeah.
God decides instead to recreate the world with the flood. I kind of take this as a warning shot story to
Mhm.
humanity. That's what it's kind of teaching, that God can end things if he so chooses. But that like the narrative through line is that it doesn't fix humans, right? So if you did start over with one person who was righteous, it says Noah was righteous. Uh, Even that righteousness is still messed up. There's still a heart problem here. Noah's not actually perfect, right?
Mhm.
People need da 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 dum drum roll. They need the presence of God to return, like I just said. They need God to guide them into what it means to be fully human, to being who we are meant to be. And you need the presence of God. You need the return of that garden, return of Eden, which we'll find ultimately, like I said, in Exodus and Leviticus. It's where it's all going to lead. But Noah doesn't have that, and Noah he ends up screwing things up, gets drunk. But yeah, that's supposed to teach you that even if God decreated the world, even if God started with another person who was pretty righteous, there's still the problem of the return of the presence. You need the presence of God to guide in life.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's not going to happen. That's the meta narrative, in my opinion, of the whole Pentateuch, the whole Bible. It's the return of the presence of God, which is ultimately the new covenant promise that the Spirit will dwell in you, which is the presence of God, which is um, I mean, it says that Jesus was sent as a sin offering, and a sin offering cleanses sacred space. And so then, what is this? What is the sacred space being cleansed? It's you.
Mhm.
The temple is you. You become cleansed. He is presented as a sin offering, and then the Spirit dwells in you, and then you can now walk in the way that Yahweh was trying to get people to walk in various contexts. And so it's really the fulfillment of that whole meta narrative of the presence returning to humankind.
Yeah. So you talk about the warning shot, like Noah really messes up after the flood, right? And I, as you talk about that and point that out, I'm like, do you think that he got as drunk as he did because he was kind of traumatized by being the guy who made it through when everything else was wiped out?
That's such an interesting insight. I don't know, but that makes a lot of sense. Because, like, I just watched everyone die. I'm maybe gonna have a few more than I should.
Yeah, for sure. Right? Like that's what made him go, you know, go the way that he did. Because it's like, I'm glad you think I'm righteous, and I'm glad you chose me and my family to to live, right? But you just wiped out everything. And now we're starting fresh, but I pretty excited about starting anew, but also that was really awful to be a part of. Um,
Yeah, the Noah option is not the a great option. I mean, the same Moses does the same thing in Exodus 32, right? He goes,
mm,
"Hey, start again with," or no, or sorry, God says, "I'll start again with just you," and Moses is like, "No, Noah option. I don't want the Noah option. That's not a good idea. Don't do that, God. Be faithful."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I heard about him, and
It's the
he,
nuclear
yeah,
option.
yeah, he
Yeah,
became an alcoholic after.
yeah. God's like, hey, just so you know, I got that button on my desk, and, and yeah, so, and Moses is like, no, no, please don't.
Have you seen the Sonic movie, Sonic 3?
No, I've not. Should I?
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. There's just a scene in it with oh, I don't want to give it away. Have you seen any like memes online from that
No,
movie? I won't give
no.
anything away. No, never
Okay.
mind.
Well,
Yeah, I
I'll
was
add
gonna
that to the
mention a
list.
Robotnik scene where he where there's a line that his finger is on the button, but I won't mention any of that. If anyone
Okay.
knows out there who's seen it,
Okay.
anyways.
That's
Yeah, I'm not
good.
gonna wreck the
I
movie.
love it. No, okay, thank you. Thank you for those who are opposed to spoilers. The other piece I think about here is the covenant that God makes with Noah. So after all of this, there's the covenant, and um God says, I'm going to put a sign in the sky to remind you that I'm never going to do this again. And we were talking about visibility and visibility, right? Reminders, signs, and so forth. Mark of Cain, and the sort of fleeting nature of it. Like it's there always, but it's not always visible. So there needs to be this trust. And in the same way, the rainbow that God puts in the sky is a sign that He's not going to, do that warning shot again. Rainbows are there sometimes, but not all the time. And they're there just enough to be a visible reminder, but not there so much that you're just like, rainbow.
Yep.
Um, Elul takes this and actually, in the 1970s, there's a shift in his work where he talks about it in the meaning of the city, actually, where he says, he talks about recapitulation, where all these works are going, where the city is going, where all the people are going, right? The two types of people, the people who call on God, people who don't. And he says, there's an implication within scripture, within revelation, that everything will be recapitulated, or some things will be, and what will be redeemed, what will be brought into the new heavens and there. He says there's no way of knowing, and we probably shouldn't try to say which will and which won't, because only God can say that. But there's a shift in the middle of his sort of writing career where he just goes overt universalist, and all will
Mm,
be saved, all will be recapitulated. And actually, speaking of his commentary on Apocalypse, that's a place where he says it. That's the first
mm,
time he does. And for the Elul scholars here, there's different readings of what he's doing there. Some say that he's sincere in it. Some say that he is sort of occupying the role of Jonah. He's viewing himself as being Jonah preaching in Nineveh. You're all going to be saved. Just turn, right? So kind of an insincere proclamation of universal salvation. I'm more on the sort of the latter, but others aren't. But he talks about the covenant with Noah and the sign being like, this is kind of a sign of universal salvation and recapitulation, that God's actually not going to wipe everybody out again like he
mm.
did with the flood. And so he kind of springs that forward into the eschaton. What do you think about that?
Hey, yeah, everybody, you have just been paused. We just paused this on you because if you would like to see the rest of this, please head on over to Michael's channel where you can see the rest of the video. That's Michael. I hope you've recognized that by now. That's Michael. And so head over there
I'm Michael.
and check. That's Michael. Michael Morelli. Dr. Michael Morelli. Just so go over there. Okay, it's there. Okay, bye.